Emlech. Everyone said, I'm ruling. And one attribute did not leave space for another. And B'meila, they collapsed. And again, in a spiritual sense, not in a physical sense. We already had a Meiser once, we mentioned already a few times. The shul once, Chassidim came, Bacher once came to Chazer HaMaimah to give over a Hasidic discourse, and he was in Newark, in New Jersey, and talking about the early 60s, they used to Chazer Hasidic discourses instead of talks of the Rebbe, and so they Chazer the Rebbe's discourses, and it spoke about the world that collapsed, and the vessels collapsed, and now we have to, by doing mitzvahs, we are refining the sparks and collecting them, the ones that find themselves in physical objects that we deal with. It came after this. He's finished his speech, his Hasidic discourse. After he related, so the Gabbai, one of the attendants in the shul, announced. He says, "Hezechaim, what the student is really saying is that the dishes in the yeshiva broke, and he came to raise funds for them. So therefore, he explained it in a spiritual sense that the vessels in that world collapsed. But he's really giving you in a speech, a fundraising speech. He is coming here and making an appeal. So from then on, they stopped giving over these Maimarim because it was taken a very literal way.
Did he get some money?
I don't know. He could have walked away with some money. Yeah, the same thing is also in the other direction.
True story.
Yeah. I heard it. This might have happened in Newark. I heard this story. Shegam midas hativi is there also natural midas emotions shabadam hein meseder es al yedei turning the page. That also the emotion, the midas, the emotions in the person, all come from the seichel. They're being guided by the seichel, being guided by the missile. It's like there's a certain guide, and this seichel follows in and guides the midas even after that to control them to a certain extent, unless the person sometimes he's like higher than the limitation. Where do we know the raya? How do we know the proof that it controls? That you shouldn't be afraid, you shouldn't soften your hearts, and you shouldn't be afraid. The question is, the fear in the war is something natural. So since it's something natural, Ibimela how could you say to someone, don't be afraid? A person is going, Nachman al-Zan is going to war. It's a natural thing that he'll get scared. All the different things that are happening, the noise, the commotion, the scenery. So how could the person be to control himself? Altiro, since the awakening of the natural midas is through seichel. Therefore, when he'll put his mind and his thought into it, because the midas controls it, the seichel controls the natural emotions. So if he puts his mind to it, he'll put a lid on it, and he will control his emotions. Meshakosov Rambam. The Rambam writes in Hilchas Melachim, Kol ha'maschil lachshev v'lahare b'milchama. When somebody starts thinking about the war, umavilatzmei, and he mamish confuses himself and gets all alarmed, Ever b'leisasa. He transgresses a negative, so-called negative commandment. What is the negative commandment? You shouldn't fear, you shouldn't soften your hearts, and you shouldn't fear. So this is actually what the Rebbe brings as a mocker, that when it says al yerech levavchem, the Rambam learns pshat anders. Al yerech levavchem doesn't mean just you shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't do something that will bring you to be afraid. And with this, the Rebbe brings a source for a word from the Mezritcha Maggid. Mezritcha Maggid says, "V'ahavtas Hashem elikecha he asked the question, how could a person bring himself to Avos Hashem? He says, no. Meditate and concentrate on things that will bring you to Vahavta. This is the tzivui of Vahavta. To love Hashem. How could a person do it? By thinking into the greatness of Hashem, which will bring him to that. Derech Agav, it's interesting to note, it just hit me when I saw it now. Al yerech levavchem, al yiru, speaking about Milchama, let's not forget, this is the year of the 6-day war. Tavshin Chav Zayin.
Said before?
Before. This isn't the only hint that the Rebbe dropped in, there were many. This was beginning of Kislev, before Kislev, and the war was end of Iyar. There was one actually on Yutas Kislev, a few weeks later. The Rebbe speaks about Poda v'Sholem Nafshi, that the Eibishter has redeemed with Sholem Nefesh, in peace. And the Rebbe asked the question, Mikrovli, why does it say Mikrov? Mikrov means war. It should have said a pasuk, Kisoveyo. He brings, it's very interesting. Usually he doesn't choose psukim. He just asks, why is it Mikrov? He says, B'dugma, as it says, V'chisovim melchama b'artzachem, when a war will come in Israel. This is the example that Rebbe brings on Yutas Kislev Tavshin Chav Zayin. It's mamish amazing how that whole year, Sukkot the Rebbe is speaking about not to be afraid of military things.
Was taking place, wasn't it?
How much? 3 weeks before. They started in Sinai, the Egyptians surrounded was about 2-3 weeks before they got on the border. But it all started after Pesach. And you see the Maimarim, Pesach, everything is in that direction. Okay, Ms. Chopstein.